Paula Coomber, Seaside Radio, and I'm with Lorraine Ellis again, and we're in Withensea Library. What are you doing here today, Lorraine?
Oh, I'm signing my books. I'm launching Mini Hen Legs, Ladybird, and Ladybird, Fly Away Home.
And they are fantastic reads. The first one from about 5 to 15, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. The two books in one. Mini Hen Legs starts at the age of 5 years old and goes on to and ends when I was 15. It tells of the problems I had then and the reasons that could have been behind the breakdown I had when I was 15.
Yeah, and it can be quite harrowing reading. It's amazing that you got through all of this, but it's also very good as well. I couldn't put it down when I was reading it. Particularly, you go into a lot of your family life detail.
Well, I enjoy writing, and it brought back a lot of memories for me when I was writing. Not all of them doom and gloom, a lot of them was happy memories. And
that comes through. That does
I'll
come.
just say
it does, yeah. There's no doubt about it. This was the first Peas Pudding Heart. Now that was your novel, and that was about Joe, who was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And you based his story on a lot of your own experiences.
I have, yeah. A lot of the things that Joe suffered, I also suffered, although Joe's home life was completely fictitious.
Of course.
But a lot of the situations he was in and the stigma he suffered through mental illness.
Of course, yeah, the people.
I experienced myself, although there was a lot of people that had tried to help me, but some couldn't understand, and
no, it didn't help that you didn't understand what was happening
I didn't know what was going on.
To you, the voices were very real.
Yeah.
And if people told you they weren't, you didn't believe them.
No, nobody could convince me that it was my mind playing tricks with me. And the thoughts I had in my head was so real, and so frightening, and yet there was no way I could think of anything else but what
was being said to you and told to you.
Yeah.
And all of this comes in your second, 2 books in one, Mini Hen Legs and Ladybird, Fly Away Home.
Yeah.
And I think with you being so open and honest about it, I've said this before, it's such a good thing because it helps other people who might be going through this, but also people who might be with them and don't understand what's happening to their friends or relatives.
Well, that was my main motivation in writing my books. I feel there is a lot of stigma attached to mental health. It's a taboo subject, and sufferers feel so alone. I did, and I feel that if I had have had a book to read about other people's experiences, then it would have helped.
Yeah. It's been an awful long time in the conception with lots of screwing up and throwing away.
Oh, yeah. Peas Pudding, it took me approximately 10 years to finish because I'd write so much, and then I'd lose confidence in myself and throw it away. And when I became ill, I went through a period where I destroyed a lot of my things that was really dear to me. I didn't think I was
worthy
of anything.
No, I remember the piece where you were smashing up the room and all the ornaments.
Yeah.
And so that was all part of a self-loathing, wasn't it
was,
really, in a way? Yeah. But you've come through it. You've been amazingly lucky with your family and friends who've been there for you.
Oh, they've been good. They've been very supportive. And I used to feel guilty about my children seeing me so ill. But then today I look at it and think, well, it wasn't my fault.
No.
There's nothing I could have done about it.
No, of course not.
My children they're all okay now, and
they've come through it.
Yeah.
And so have you.
Yeah.
And this is the proof of it. Well done, Lorraine.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, I'd like to read an extract from Mini Hen Legs. It describes a time in 1966, just before we moved from a street in the City Hall to Hedden, to a place which was then known as Bond's Estate. It was also known as Bonnie to some. It was a long country lane with lots of surrounding fields and meadows. There were plenty of places to play and lots to do. In 1966 we moved to one of the small wooden bungalows down there. It was on the drain bank and had a large rambling garden. It was lovely. And to someone coming from a small terraced house with no garden and only a small brick backyard, it seemed like paradise. I remember feeling really sad when we moved and Bonnie became a part of the new housing estate. The surrounding fields and meadows were built upon and are now named Ingman's Estate. Sometimes when I go down there today, a lump forms in my throat when I remember the magical place it once was. But times change, and I suppose you have to try and get on with things and move along with the times. But I'll never forget Bonnie, never. Now I'd like you to read the extract. Do you want to go and see your gran while I do some work on the new house? Asks my dad. I nod my head excitedly, and my dad picks me up and sits me in the middle of the handcart. I giggle as my dad pulls the handcart with ease down the street. A group of kids wave and smile as we go by. I smile back proudly. He's very strong, is my dad. Very soon we leave the streets behind. I giggle to myself, unable to contain my excitement. My dad turns around. He is smiling all over his face. Are you enjoying the ride, me little lass? He says. Yeah, it's great. I sit in the middle of the handcart, feeling like the Queen of Sheba. After some time, the factories are replaced with green fields. I can see lambs and cows. It's so different to looking from a bus window. Hugging myself, I take in the fresh air. My dad turns around to face me. We're nearly there, he says. He then points to a sign at the side of the road. That says Hedden, he says proudly. Are we really here, Dad? I say, hardly daring to believe it, for I must have been sitting on that handcart for hours and my backside has gone all numb. Aye, says my dad, we're here. We pass a shop and a row of houses with gardens at the front. Very soon we come to the lane. When we reach the top of the lane, my dad lifts me from the handcart. You can walk from here, he says. Aye, Doug, says a woman walking by. This you young un then? Aye, she's an old Mrs. Dovey, says my dad. The old lady looks me up and down. Well, there's no need to tell me that, Doug. She's the image of you when you was a bairn. Mrs. Dovey smiles at me, then turns to my dad. Your mum tells me you're moving back down the lane, she says. Aye, we are that, says my dad, in a couple of days. I'm pleased for you, lad. Old Mrs. Dovey walks on, smiling to herself. I try my hardest not to laugh. It seems funny hearing someone calling me dad lad. I skip along looking at the funny little wooden houses with the big gardens. We turn a corner near a field. That's Dobby's field, says my dad. And you see that big tree there? He says, pointing to the biggest tree I've ever seen. Yes, Dad. Well, I used to climb that when I was a lad, right to the very top. Yes, says my dad, I did. I look up to the big tree and the branches seem to touch the sky. There's loads and loads of trees and fields here, says my dad. Plenty of places for you to play. It will be different from being down that street, you know. My dad smiles to himself. He can walk for miles and not see a soul. It's great. But what about the cows, Dad? Oh, cows won't hurt you. They're gentle animals. My dad laughs and we go on our way. What's the number of our new house, Dad? I ask. Well, the houses have names instead of numbers, says my dad. What's the name of our house then, Dad? It's called Mayfield Villas, and it's a lovely little place. I can't wait to see it, I say, hugging myself. You're not seeing it today, Lorraine. It will spoil the surprise on moving day. Because, went on my dad, moving days are special days, so you're going to stay with your gran today while I get it ready for us all. Dad? Yes, love. What do they call my gran's house? Well, your grandma's house is called Navilda, but they're not houses, they're called bungalows because they don't have any stairs. Navilda, I say. That's a funny name for a house. I mean a bungalow. It's called Navilda, said my dad, because it once belonged to a couple called Neville and Hilda. Oh, I see. And your great-aunt, well, she lives in a bungalow called Glandown. My dad then points to bungalows as we walk along. That one's called Rosedene, he says, pointing to a small green bungalow. He then points to the other side of the road, and that one there, well, that's called Dunroaming. He points to many others as we walk along, telling me the names. I look at the small bungalows. Most of them are made of wood. They look so different from the back-to-back houses down the street. As we walk further down the lane, I can see my gran waiting for us near her house. She's smiling and waving. My gran's house, or bungalow, smells of apples and flowers. She's always baking and has a big oven near her fire. It has little doors in it which she polishes every day. I love going down the lane to see my gran, and although I know I will miss all my cousins and my friends down the street, I'm still happy to be going to live down the lane and starting a new school.